with these techniques, seat removal is really important. Now on this car it's got one electric and one winding seat. You're going to have to appoint an interior rescuer, and the Melbourne units talked about putting someone in the car with the ambos to guide them and to give advice. One of the things you want to look for is, can I wind the seat back? Because if you can't, don't disconnect the battery till you wind the seat back, because quite often the seat will still move. So people who've got this thing in their head, must disconnect the battery. All the seats are now locked, bolt upright, and we've got no choice then but to cut the seat. And we've exposed this seat so you can have a look in the back. What the manufacturers do is every time something breaks on the car, they just make that bit stronger. If you break a seat, and I know if that taxi driver, she reckons his seat broke, generally that means the driver will break their back. If the seat breaks, this person will break their back, because the force required to break a seat will always break their back. So if the seat's broken and someone's still in the car, I'd be spine boarding them out. Because if you have a look in the back when you get a chance to walk around, the reinforcing up the back of this seat is massive up to here. So when you go to cut a seat, you've got to cut around that, and you may have to cut above it, strip out the seat and just lay the person back through the two hinges. You may not be able to cut the hinges anymore. So if you can wind the seat back early in the job, that's fantastic, and that way we can get a rear removal straight out the back of the car. If we wind this seat back, this gives us room to work from the back seat as paramedics, and it immediately opens up the front of the car. If you just pop a door, we've got no choice but to work from here. Nothing else I can do if you just pop the door. If you open the car up, and the key to opening the car up early is good glass management, because you don't want to cover the patient and the paramedic in glass, because they'll just get out of the car and won't work for you. And we'll let the train go past. It's the slowest train I've ever seen. It's probably 5 miles long at 1 kilometre an hour. So whoever the interior rescuer is, they should be stripping off as much trim as you can, and then getting in the vehicle, looking for things like electric seats, seat winders, any airbags in the car that haven't gone off. We've got anyone that wants to be a patient? We've got a volunteer. Hey? You want to do it?
I'll do it.
You can get in, just watch your head up the front, yeah. Just watch your head up here. So, the second problem for us is we would always work either through the side window or in the door. If the roof airbags haven't gone off, you're now working at the deployment zone of the airbags. If you cut the cylinder and trigger the airbags, if I'm hanging onto a head, it's going to hurt a neck, but you're probably going to break these people's wrists. But it's worse if you're leaning in the car, because the airbags will go off across the back of your neck. So by flapping the roof, any undeployed airbags now are taken away from the work zone. So it's a much safer option. And if you look at that American video where the captain gets blown out of the car when the airbags go off, the only reason he survived is they had the roof off the car. So when he got blown out, he stood up and he fell on the ground and really didn't get hurt. If he had had the roof on, his neck would have impacted across here on the side of the car. So it's an added safety feature with roof airbags. If you miss one and you've taken the roof off and anything happens, it's going to go off away from the patient. And those of you who haven't seen airbags, you can see this one come out the side. If you go around the other side, you can see the cylinder and the undeployed airbag just tucked up in the roof. And that's what you're looking for when you do your interior strip and reveal of the vehicle. Generally, the cylinder is on the C-pillar at the side, but in the Falcon, the cylinder is right here. That's the roof airbag cylinder in the roof. Some of the Audis have the cylinder in the front. So what's the benefit for us of flapping the roof forward? Yep. So there was a really bizarre technique from the 1970s where you got an axe and you cut across the windscreen with the axe, and then you did a total roof removal. We've got video of that from Frankston with the state challenges. Glass just sprays right through the car and comes out the back window. Then when you fold it over, as it splinters, the whole car fills with glass. The forward roof flap means you don't have to manage the glass. It's a big time saver. But people who are injured here will have open fractures in their legs. Any glass that you miss is going straight into their knees, and you'll walk with a limp for the rest of your life. If you don't get that bit of glass out, you know what one bit of sand in your shoes like. So if we can avoid damaging that glass and cutting it into the car by doing a forward roof flap, you can't remove windscreens in modern vehicles. They don't come out because they're bonded in. It's a time saver for not having to cut that glass. If you're cutting the windscreen, everyone's got to wear protection masks. So it's an added factor that you don't want to have to deal with. With the pack axe, you can whip these windows out, clean up what's on the seat or put tarps down for the paramedics in the vehicle and leave that windscreen alone. So compared to doing a total roof removal, the forward roof flap, you lose a little bit of space here, but we don't operate in that space, especially if you can get the seat back. So with this seat, the airbag's gone off, there's no more danger features in there. And how we would extricate from this vehicle, I'll show you the KED. And the issue of using the KED is not as a complete spinal immobilisation, but as a slide tool. And we use that in a taxi to just slide them out. She's had it half on, and it lets you slide with 3 or 4 people lifting the patient. So we'll introduce the KED now onto you if you like, is that all right? So if we can just bring the KED over. Caroline, where's... You can be like Jackie on... we can be like Jackie on Daryl Summers and just stand here going like that. Yeah, you can. Every time she was demonstrating the prizes on the wheel, she just stood there going like that.
Does the service only carry pets, or any of the other classes? They're all actually...
They currently have KEDs, it's under review, so they may not have them. But at the moment, there's some other slide equipment. Yeah, no, we don't have the blue one. We don't have the blue ones. Okay. There's some other slide equipment, but the KED's the best one. The KED was designed for stock car racing with a sunroof. You know those cars that have the aluminium frame? Well, you can't get people out of them when they roll 16 times at Beckley Park here, or whatever that place is called. So the guy in America who was a paramedic at the race has come up with this device, and he would put it on. The tow truck would back up and just lift the driver out through the sunroof. So they didn't have to cut the car at all. So people get intimidated because if you're going to lift people vertically, and you can use them to get people out of drain holes because it's a confined space type rescue, you have to put all the straps on. To lay the person on the spine board and gently slide them up, you don't need to use all the straps. And at that job at Ford's, we didn't use all the straps the other night. So Caroline will give us a hand to pop this one on. Yeah, they've got them, but the young kids don't know how to use them. All the ambulance education has gone to university, and it's basically run by nurses. So anything like this they won't teach because they don't know about it. There's 330 first year students at Vic Uni, because the uni get money by having students. They can't do prac classes. So none of the kids that come on the road have got any practical experience, because we can't take 5 days to run 330 people through. So they say, oh, it's up to the ambulance service. The ambulance service go, oh, they'll pick it up when they get on the road, but because they're not familiar with it, people just don't use it. It's in that back locker on the left, but that's only at this stage on these vehicles. They talk about, because they can't fit everything in the new vehicles, they're going to take the KED and the scoop stretcher off. So we'll still have a spine board. If that happens, we'll have to get the SS, because it's just such a valuable tool, and I'll show you why in a minute. So, did you want to hop in the car, Caroline, at the back?
Yep. Do you normally take the head with your casualties?
No. What's your name?
Julie.
Julie, we're just going to lift you forward 2 millimetres and slide this splint down your back, okay? Righto. So, Julie would have a cervical collar on, and we would just lift her forward using the clothing, and someone would hold her head. So just come forward, sit forward, because you're going to lose your coat if you don't. You've got a raincoat on. Now the trick with the KED is you just get it down, and you've got to go, not get it caught in their belt, and go a bit lower. So you might need to do a clothing lift and get the KED all the way down. If you're going to use the leg straps, you must get them out now, pull them across and do them up through your legs in your groin, and that way we can lift her up. But we're just using this as a slide tool, and we've got to be clear that you discuss what you're going to use it for. So then it's collar coded for Rambos. There's only 3 collars. It's really hard to get them wrong. What one you got first?
That's the middle.
Middle one goes on first. Just do it up gently so you can breathe. Top one, leave the top one undone until you're ready to go, because that helps Julie to breathe. The top one's quite tight on the chest.
No, on the scene, the records are only, as you put up one, the middle one on first.
Yep.
Is that always the preferred?
Oh, you should, because the top one stops her from breathing.
Yeah.
So the middle one goes on first just to hold it in place. We've got the bottom one.
Yep.
Bottom one. Now look, to use it properly, you should seesaw the black ones through, pull them under her buttocks, and they come over her leg and back in the side. And that's what happened at the Ford's job. This buckle got caught in the spine board.
Yep.
You do need to go
So what you actually do, if you want to lift her at all,
under post,
under your other leg,
helps to, and then he's going to jiggle
you pull it across and get it right. You need to pull this right through.
that. You jiggle that a little. Yeah, it'll tick.
Get it? Because otherwise it gets caught halfway, and then you just go back through a leg. And that's got it up high enough.
So you pull it across first and then go.
So you pull it across and go back. Because it's fiddly and people don't know how to do it, they'll say, no, we're not going to use a kid, let's just drag her out.
You've got one, you do it this side as well? Or is it just one for one?
Ideally you'd use both, because then what happens is, going for the slide, I'd do all the waist ones up just to give you a bit of lift, because otherwise you end up tugging up under their arms. Your legs are giant levers, and to lift your leg up puts pressure on your back. So these people have broken their back, you're lifting their legs for them, you're actually rotating their pelvis back into their back. What this does is isolates the middle part of their body, and the best thing to do is just let her legs trail out below her. The worst thing you can do is lift her legs towards her knees and then rotate her sideways, because not only are you lifting her back, you're then twisting it as well. So if she's got a back injury, the gold standard is to lay her back and slide her gently out. If you have theatre with a broken arm, they always take traction away from the joint. No one in theatre would ever pick your arm up and move it sideways, because the bone will pop out through the skin. You always grab the joint above and take traction away. So to get her out sideways, and this is why I hate popping the front door, people grab their legs and pull them out. Now if she's got leg fractures, you end up with bone popping out through the skin. If you go out the back on the spine board, everything's supported, and the weight of your legs gently pulls your legs back into a straight line. So this is the anatomically correct position to remove from a vehicle. The beauty of the KED now is that her spine is isolated, and Caroline asked about taping the head. If you're going to handle people's heads, I would take your rescue gloves off, but everything else leave them on, because what's in the car? Glass, and if any blood goes under her bum. And the people that get asked to pick up are you, because the ambos will go, can you help me pick it up? And there's this first aid thing going around where you must not touch the patient with rescue gloves, but I'd only say that that's her face. If you're going to stick your hands down here, I'd have rescue gloves on, because her clothes are covered in blood and they're also covered in glass from the accident, because when you break the glass, none of it will go in the car. So all her clothes are covered in glass. If you use the plastic gloves and touch her, you're going to cut your hands. So always wear your rescue gloves except holding her face. Now, there was a lot of talk earlier about taping the head. If you tape her head on and that kid moves up and down, what's going to move? Her neck. So what you can actually do is get people's spine to separate from their body by lifting them up and down. The best thing to do is to not tape the head and to hold her neck in a collar, because that way your hands go with her body. If the kid slips, it just slips away and her head stays still. So ideally don't tape the head, or they originally came with foam straps and there's a lot of give in the foam. But people then started taping heads. So what you can do is you can tape a head in there so tight that when you lift the kid just slips up their body, because their body weighs 60 to 100 kilos, and the head just gets longer and longer off their neck, which is exactly what we don't want to happen. So we can now lay the seat back with the KED, or we can use the spine board. So if you guys want to introduce the spine board, and I'll just show everyone. Anthony Ham from Colac, some of you may have done a course with him. He was in Frankston SES. I had a lot of development work with the spine board in making it thinner, and it's designed to fit in a bucket seat. That's why the American ones you'll see are flat, and a lot of ours are this curved shape. So if we can just bring the spine board in, Caroline. Now the ked's designed to fit from above. If you leave the roof on, it's bloody hard to put the ked on. Flapping the roof has already helped us, and if this girl was to crash and become critically ill, we can just lay the seat back and get her straight out of this vehicle. So flapping the roof always buys you time, and if we have to resuscitate her, we can sit in the back and do resuscitation from behind. So the technique with the spine board is it was specifically designed to be 2 mil thick and fit down the back of the seat. So once again, with a collar on and holding Julie's head, we just lift it forward slightly, and the spine board then is introduced. Now you tell me you can do that with the roof on as gently as we can do it here. So it just goes in gently. There's none of this manipulating or lifting. And once again, just lift your bottom forward. You've got to make sure that drops to the bottom of the seat, all the way down. Now, we've moved her around tonight, but with the roof on, you've got to come in from the side and you can never get the angle right. So you've got to lift her much further forward to overcome this buckle in the seat. So the technique now is Caroline coming back. Oh, she's wandered off. She's having a little chat over there.
Are we going to come
Just
up
stirring you. No, I'm going to get you to hop in and hold the board with me. And this young chap here, Kieran, is going to wind the seat back. So the technique with the board is to support Julie's weight while you can either cut the seat now or wind it, because she's isolated from the seat. So wind the seat back if you like, mate. But you can see that she doesn't move until we're ready. And when we do lay her back, if that seat was to be cut and fall away as they do, she's isolated from that cut to some degree. You still need protection in there. Don't use the spine board as protection. Okay, now when you're ready, we're going to lay you back, Julie. So you just lean back. Normally you would hold her head while we do this, but today we're just going to lay her back. So you just lean back in the seat as far as you can. You're right, lay back. And you can just see how gently that lay down is. Any fractures haven't been jolted or moved, and no one's done any lifting. I love this technique because we don't have to lift. What it calls for now is a piece of rope or, you know, that nice thin tape. Anyone got some? Look at this. Here's one she prepared earlier. Ideally, before we laid her down, we would have clipped it on, but we can gently pick her up. There's the strap there.
And there's one, or you got the two, or there's two on each side.
So clip it onto this one.
You want to go single? This one?
And there's also handles down here that you can hang on to separate from these ones. See that handle there? Now, the idea of this technique
So I want to hook down on the side, under armpits, you'll find another hook.
is that it's a no-lift technique. So no matter how heavy the patient is, we can slide her out without bending or lifting. The worst position for your back is this one, where you lean into a car and take the weight, because the fulcrum on your back magnifies the force by 10 times. So leaning in here and picking someone up is the worst thing you can do for your back. What this technique will show you is we can gently slide her up the board. Someone will have to support her legs, because generally her legs will be broken, and someone will have to support at the side, and then one person will hold her head. And the aim is in 3 steps, 1, 2, 3, we get her on the spine board. You then grab the spine board and sit it on the back of the car. So anyone that wants to have a go, come in, just watch your head on the side here. Yeah, we can do these up now. Loose. And we don't have the legs on tight, so Caroline was right, we tighten these up. You cross your chest. We need one person on the legs, one person.
Keeping someone on the board. It's easy to forget, we'll start dragging the casualty, someone has to hold this board because it'll all come with her, because probably her pants are hooked under it. Or something.
So what we'll get you to do is dig your heels in and you help us as well tonight, all right? So the beauty of this is the no-lift technique means the people at the back are in an upright position, you're not bent over, and any weight that you take is just gentle back, stop, okay? So we're going to move about this far up the board. I'll take her head. Now you can see how her head's isolated. If the ked slips, me and her head don't move. So this, you don't tape her head onto the ked.
So you have a collar on, don't you?
Yeah, you do have a collar. Do you want one on?
Not really.
Okay, I'll do it if you want. Here,
We'll just pretend.
we'll pretend. Okay, so if I'm holding her head, on the count of 3, we're going to move up just this far. 1, 2, 3, move. Okay, stop. Reposition, everything all right? Now what you're doing here is you're checking that she's not impaled, that no bone is stuck into the car, and if you're on that side, that the pedals aren't trapping the legs. Is she free?
The legs are
Yep, okay, we'll go again halfway. 1, 2, 3, move. Okay, we'll stop there. Is she on the board? That's fine. Okay, stop. What's important now is that you hold her onto the board. So either through this handle, because if we let go, she'll slip back in the car. So you guys can now swap to pulling on the board, is that all right? And what we're going to do with your gloves on, we'll hold, Julie, you've got her. We'll move the board up and then we'll tilt it back and sit it on the back, all right? On 3, 1, 2, 3, up, stop. And we can probably stop there. Just go a little bit further so she's balanced. Okay, stop there. Now what you can see is if we have to do CPR or resuscitate, you can almost do it in that position. And I'll just go on to show you, we'll get the stretcher out. By sliding onto the stretcher, no one's had to lift this patient at all. So it's a much better technique than coming out the side. I'll grab the stretcher for you. Just going to come in behind you with the bed. So as these guys walk up, Brendan, you come in from the other side. We want 3 or 4 people up each side. We'll push this right up to the car between you guys. And the technique now is to just slide along the car, lift gently. Don't catch your hand on the belts as you come up. And straight onto the stretcher. And because she's not really injured, you can give her a pillow so she's comfortable. Okay, so you take over now and call it. The movement, we want to just an incremental slide. So on the count of 3.
Prepare to slide. Slide. Stop. Ready?
Ready?
Prepare to slide.
Ready?
Slide. Stop. And all the way up.
There we go, all up.
Okay. Prepare to slide.
You got the bed?
Slide. Stop.
So at this stage, there's no need to keep her on the spine board. They may choose to take it out. You can either hold her close and pull it out the head end, or we can log roll her and slide the board out. If she's going to be on the board for a longer than 20 minutes transport time, they like to take the board out. If you're close to Geelong Hospital, they might leave her on and put the straps on. That's up to the crew, because they'll make an assessment of what her injuries actually are. If you think she's got a bad spinal injury and you're close to hospital, you'd leave her on the board. But if she's paralysed, she'll get pressure sores, and that will put back her recovery in hospital. So you want to get her off. So stuff like that, is it?
Yeah, it's really loud.
So the only other thing is, if this is done up tight, her legs will be locked at 90 degrees in the air. You must, before you lay her down, let the leg straps go. If you do them up tight, her legs will be locked up here at 90 degrees. Okay, once she's relaxed, just undo your arms there. This one, we'll just undo the straps for her and she can sit up. So even if you're with a junior ambo who doesn't take control, you take charge in a loud voice. We're going to move 10 centimetres on the count of 3 or on the count of lift, but make it clear that all your team know what's going on, because the ambo's not in charge of anything. They're just here with you. Okay, so if they're not giving you clear directions, you take over, all right?
All the access are going to it. Here it doesn't go this way.
We're going 10 centimetres.
Don't like it to go this way. Sometimes it just doesn't.
Hold there for a second.
Is he right, or is it Buckles' call again?
I know where it's caught. You can direct us, couldn't you? Oh, you can figure it out.
He can dig his feet in, and you can help him with your feet. Don't make him lift. Is it going to go?
Should now.
Right, just pretend you're holding his head. On the count of 3.
When I say ready, everyone ready?
Ready.
10 centimetre lift. Lift.
Okay, we need to decide, because I don't know what you said, but it wasn't that. And he said, when I say ready, and then he said lift. You've got to have a command. I think the best command is on 3. 1, 2, 3. I think you said prepare to lift and then lift. Whichever one you use, your unit should adopt the one technique and then just use it every time you do patient movement.
Our SES technique is prepared to slide. Slide. Okay. No, we're not lifting, we're sliding. Okay.
Right, so you use that.
Prepare to slide.
Ready?
Slide. Prepare to slide.
Hang on, wait.
Ready?
Hang on, we're just swapping.
Wait.
You got it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, just, can you move it? Yeah, I've got to move it. Right. Prepare to slide.
Ready?
Slide. Okay, we got you there.
Okay.
Someone's holding the head, hopefully. I can't reach anymore.
So now,
The bottom really neat.
now we need to hold the KED onto the board so you can get your hand through the board and onto the KED handle. And we need some other people then to lift the board up. You ready?
One more round.
Come in.
One more to help lift. Apparently I'm still holding their head.
So ideally you wouldn't have much pressure on here now. They should be isolating. You can let that go. You can either swap that strap now onto the board. So,
Okay. Who's holding on to the straps on the side?
Okay.
Because you're
Okay.
supposed to be stopping them sliding down.
No sliding here.
so you guys can now pull the board if you swap it to the board. All right, so we're ready to go again.
All right, ready to raise. Is that what we use now?
No,
slide.
We're still sliding the board back, mate. We're going to slide the board.
Okay. All right, one more lift. Ready to lift.
Slide.
Ready to slide. Slide. Ready.
Okay, if stuff happens, you call stop. You've come a bit far this way and he's sort of half on the C-pillar.
Look at the angle he is, fellas.
So next time we want to just go over a bit more in the slide and move him off that. Everyone together though, all of you do it gently. Move him down into the parcel shelf of the car. All right, we're going to move him again just till he balances on the back. So we'll just come forward.
Okay.
Suggest we trade a head person for up there, so I can't reach from here.
It doesn't feel right with it. Just push right up under here.
Yeah, you've slipped down. You've actually slipped down because your head's about halfway down the board. So let's go another about 10 centimetres, get him balanced, and then we'll sit him up.
Okay, prepare to slide.
Prepare to slide.
Ready?
Slide.
Okay, stop there. You're all right, stop. So if we undo the KED, he can just sit up and step back into the vehicle from there. So you can injure an SES person, because you'll notice that no ambos run in when it's time to lift.
I have noticed that.
Yeah. You people have jobs and your own businesses. All ambulance people are under ESSS. They've got the best superannuation of any industry in the country, and they ask you to do the lift. Don't lose your business. Use the slide techniques in preference to a lift. And say to them, look, we don't think we can lift him, we're not going to do it. We're happy to help you slide the patient, but we're not going to reach in there and lift that person out.
Rick, are you going to do the back passengers as well?
Yep, so if we want to have a go with someone in the back seat. Did you have another team that you wanted to swap over with? Now those tool operators, come and have a look in here at how high up you're going to have to cut. You're probably not going to be able to cut on new cars through here because there's too much junk in the way. And some of them have the seatbelt pre-tensioner there. You may have to come up here. You can try that cut, but it's a huge piece of metal and it's reinforced.